Hello viewers, welcome to our special edition. Today we have an exclusive interview with Musonda, who is the Secretary General for Musonda, State Alternative Languages. Thank you very much, Madam, to this exclusive interview with ATV.
Thank you very much. It's really a great opportunity to be speaking to you today on this initiative as the Secretary General of the Convention on Wetlands.
Today we're talking about climate change and climate issues in Africa and beyond to Africa. I do know that the government of Ethiopia implementing Green Legacy Initiative over the past 4 or more than 4 consecutive years. What is your comment in this regard?
Even though I'm talking about, water-related issues, I think for me the Green Legacy Initiative is a demonstration of what leadership looks like. And the Prime Minister Abiy, Ahmed, when he provided this kind of leadership to make sure that the constituency and the population of Ethiopia get committed to this initiative, it was so incredible. The world was very shocked that in one day, 576 million trees were planted. I'll tell you something. Once I saw a taxi driver here in Addis Ababa some years, and I was asking him, I see in the hills there's a lot of trees, and he told me and my family, we're 5 of us, and we planted, because this is my country. I was so amazed at that dedication. And what this legacy means to me and really to the world is that when a commitment is made to restore ecosystems that may be degraded, it is a commitment to make sure that the nature that provides us, the water, the clean air, and everything is taken care of. So for me, it starts with leadership, firstly. And then secondly, it starts with a the commitment to make sure that not only is the planting happening, that the growing and the survival is also happening. And this is what is exciting about this initiative, and the very commitment, as I said earlier on, around the leadership, to make sure that this happens not just one time, but it's happening every year as a commitment and a dedication. And I think this is the leadership that we need to see across the African continent, and something I have to congratulate, His Excellency, the Prime Minister, and also the government of Ethiopia and the people of Ethiopia.
Despite Green Legacy Initiative activities in Ethiopia over the past years, the rest of the world would give not its attention. What's the problem? We can't talk about the international media institutions that are not making an important point that was the government of Ethiopia undertaking the Green Legacy Initiative. What's the problem, and what is your comment in this regard?
Right. We need to be able to tell the power of African stories. So I'm here in Addis Ababa right now at the Africa Conference of Ministers of Environment, AMSEN, which is hosted and coordinated by the United Nations Environment Programme and together with the African Union. Now, this meeting of ministers brings together ministers of environment from across the African continent, right? And one of the discussions that is being discussed is the issue of plastics, plastic pollution, which is a problem. Yeah. Now, the first country in the world to ban plastics fully is an African country, the government of Rwanda. Even Ethiopia is going that way. Kenya has already gone that way. Africa has provided leadership. Unfortunately, these stories don't get picked up to say, how did we get there? How did we get to that journey? How are we providing governance systems and structures to begin to curb such a perverse and problematic issue as plastics? So for me, the most important thing is how international media houses don't just spotlight the problems that Africa has, but the opportunities and the solutions that Africa has provided. And it took the engagement and the stories from Africa, such as what we've seen with Rwanda banning plastics, that the European Union has now put in a directive to ban plastic only much later, not even now. Single-use plastic. So you begin to see that we are also we have provided the leadership as Africa. And so that for me is an exciting issue, but we need more of international media houses to spotlight the stories of Africa and to also learn from what we have done within our systems and our cultural norms and our conversations. It should not end there.
Let's talk about COP28. What is expected from COP28 that was held in Dubai?
Firstly, I want to say that Africa contributes only 3% to greenhouse gases in the entire world. So we contribute the least. And then secondly, I mentioned earlier on about AMSEN, the AMSEN meeting. So the current presidency of AMSEN is with Senegal, and they're handing over to the government of Ethiopia. And what's exciting is in just 3 weeks' time, there's going to be the first ever Africa Climate Summit, which is being led and hosted by President Ruto of Kenya in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi. This is now the momentum on the journey to COP28. Why? President Ruto has invited all the African leadership to say, colleagues, let us come together and really provide a very ambitious agenda for COP28. Let's come as one voice to say our issues are diverse, we are contributing the least, but also because at COP28 there's going to be a discussion on the loss and damage fund. Now, this loss and damage is a very critical fund that was negotiated very, very deeply by Africa and many other least developed countries. Now, so COP28, there's a lot of expectations. The Green Legacy Initiative is a very important initiative because it also speaks to not just the adaptation agenda of the climate agenda, it also speaks to the mitigation agenda, because the more trees we have in a landscape, they're also contributing to reducing the emissions, but they're also contributing to the nature-based solution, to the biodiversity, to water. It's a whole interconnected system. So there's a lot of expectations really towards COP28, and really Africa is going as one big voice to challenge some of these complexities. You know, we came out of Glasgow in COP26 and last year in Sharm el-Sheikh. All these commitments, we're going to give you 100 billion and this, they've never come to fruition. So African leaders are questioning this. Why are you not making these commitments? You need to put these commitments at the table because you really owe the African continent to provide the resources so that they can have solutions in the recent conflict. We are very hard hit. There were droughts in Kenya, there were floods in Malawi, damaging infrastructure, killing people. All of these impacts, very intense impacts. And so for us, you know, for the African continent, we're really seeing that COP28 should be an ambitious moment. And so the Africa Climate Week really is a very big moment, and I understand that, you know, Prime Minister Abiy is going to be there.
Madam, it's expected that the government of Kenya invited the leaders of African countries to discuss and bring some positions on the climate issues that represent African countries in Dubai COP28. What did you expect in this discussion that was organized by the government of Kenya in Nairobi?
I think that we've made some advances. We've made some advances for sure. And then at the same time, what I can say is, for example, from our convention, right? Mangrove wetland ecosystems, peatland ecosystems, these are wetland systems. If they're destroyed, you're going to have more greenhouse gases. Some of the investments comes from the global north companies that extract, you know, by other resources, or the wood, the very, you know, exclusive wood from forests, from the Congo Basin. We have the Congo Basin, which is, you know, in the similar parallel to the Amazon Basin. This is a very important region, and I know that there's been some investment, but it's not enough. We need more commitment to really provide a tangible commitment, more than just, this is now beyond talk. Because now we're seeing the impacts and how they're affecting communities. They're not just affecting communities, they're also affecting our economies. They're affecting our social cohesion. We see how with the increase in droughts, we see increase in, you know, peace and security issues. People are moving, conflict over resources. There's not enough water. So this is the moment. This is the moment that those commitments have to be made. And I think because Africa, as I said, you know, the Africa Climate Week is happening, there's going to be now a very bigger push and a very concerted effort to really provide the resources that are needed.
Madam, do you think that the Green Legacy Initiative activities can be as an exemplary for African countries and beyond to African countries, because it's a great achievement according to the government of Ethiopia over the past couple of years? What is your comment?
Absolutely. For me, for me, we have to learn from each other. You know, the African countries, not just the neighbors of Ethiopia, the Africa bloc as a whole, you know, countries that have forest landscapes, they have to come here and experience and see, you know, how did you do it? What made you make such a commitment at the level of leadership? What are your successes? How are you doing the environmental education to the community? And you know what I love about Ethiopia is, you know, everything is written in your local languages. People are committed, they are reading, okay, this is why I need to invest my time in this and even my little resources in this. We need to learn from Ethiopia. And other countries also need to learn from Ethiopia. And the world at large, I've been traveling very recently to the Americas, to Latin America, and I've also just come back from Asia. I was in China. I'm seeing a lot of restoration agendas, and people are talking, we need to also learn from Africa and really experience some. So the Green Legacy Initiative for me is a gem in the jewel, in the crown, to really share experiences and say, this is what we're doing, this is how this has been our journey. And this is what we're looking at, this is our big ambition. And I think there's a lot of possibilities, you know, for Ethiopia to provide that leadership and share, and I'm hoping that there's going to be, you know, a big side event to discuss this at COP28. You know, the Africa Climate Summit is a summit that is taking the voice to COP28, which is happening in Dubai. Because the current presidency is the government of UAE, the Kingdom of UAE. And yesterday we had a meeting together with, you know, we were having the opening of AMSEN and His Royal Highness, you know, Sheikh Al-Jaber was there because he's the president of the COP28. For me, what we're beginning to see is now the spotlight is on Africa for many reasons, you know, for many reasons of, you know, the greenhouse gas emissions, because of if we destroy the Congo forest or the forest even here in the Ethiopian highlands, there's a problem. If we destroy some of the areas where the water from the Blue Nile is coming from, there's a problem. It's not just the problem of Ethiopia, it's everything downstream. So now the conversations are happening. Everybody's now talking. How do we work with Africa better? How do we learn from Africa? How do we find solutions for the world? Because the world, look at the disasters that are happening in the Mediterranean right now. There's a lot of fires. It's hot. Today I was reading Tenerife is on fire. Yeah. Canada is on fire. You know, everywhere, the heat and everything, because we're not taking care of the planet. And nature is very unforgiving. You know, it will tell you when it's uncomfortable. But us as humans, we need to also learn to have a humility to invest and make sure that we take care of nature. And that's why, for me, I see this Green Legacy Initiative is an example of what we call nature-based solutions. It's a nature-based solution for climate change. It's a nature-based solution for biodiversity. It's a nature-based solution for food systems. It's nature-based solutions for social cohesion. It's nature-based solution for community. It's so important to see how just the very act of doing that, we're meeting the solutions and objectives of many things. It's the nature-based solutions for climate. And that's why, for me, it's fantastic to really see this work around the Green Legacy Initiative.
Viewers, this is all about our program. Stay tuned to TV Languages.